All right, folks, last time here for the night here on the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA and your Los Angeles Sparks. And welcome in, folks, to the two-man show of record that we like to call the Guys with a Petition here, folks, coming your way loud and full from Studio 171 in San Diego and the Innerheart Studios up in Anaheim, California. Alongside Chris Mancy, I'm Callum McClure. Chris, last show for the night. And how's it hanging up there? I know the weather is still being, you know what?
And that's mine. I'm just so freaking pumped up and excited since it's May 1st.
Chris, like the network just tweeted out, man, again, May 2014, man, is here. Well, what the same level of anticipation and excitement to be here. The Sparks were still here, folded and/or left, Chris. Where do you think the excitement level would be for the season if something other than the Sparks team occurred?
Probably not too excited since it's not in LA, either folded or up in the Bay Area, and probably would have been not too excited just here as the season started.
Chris, I think, in my view at least, I've kind of pondered about the possible scenario is, you know, had the Sparks left, I still would have watched the WNBA, but I would still root for the team in Bay Area regardless of you know, if we were in LA or not, because it was still the same team, just a different city and stuff like that. But I think, Chris, had the Sparks have folded, though, I think that would have been the death sentence, and that would have been the interest of the WNBA because, you know, most people, Chris, when you ask them about the WNBA, Chris, they automatically, like that, they think of the Sparks and Lisa Leslie. So Chris, I mean, you know that they're the most recognizable WNBA franchise because I'm sure, Chris, you know, if you were to just ask an average ignorant sportsman like most of America is about the league, about the WNBA, they'd probably say, yeah, that one team in LA and that one player named Lisa Leslie, I think, you know. So, Chris, you know what the Sparks are your most recognizable and most connected franchise to the WNBA, Chris. Now, have the Sparks left or folded, you know, hey, goodbye to the WNBA fan base, perhaps, just because I know for damn sure, Chris, that the fan base in LA would be long gone. I mean, we know about a few people, Chris, that wouldn't even watch a game anymore if the Sparks left and the Bay Area are folded. But again, Chris, you know, that was the, you know, that's the big deal here, Chris. Is, you know, Chris, is when you normally think of a sporting league, you know, baseball's the Yankees. Basketball's the Lakers or the Celtics. Football's normally the Cowboys or the Packers. You know, hockey's either the Canadians or the Rangers or the Bruins or the Blackhawks. And in soccer, you've got the Galaxy or, you know, clubs like that, Chris. You know, and Chris, you know, when you're able to connect that league to that team, Chris, and Chris, you know, I know for damn sure if the Yankees weren't around, Chris, baseball would not be the same. You know, if the Lakers weren't around or the Celtics, Chris, it wouldn't be the same sort of feel to that sport if that team had left, Chris. And in this case here, Chris, have the Sparks have pulled their left, you wouldn't be able to identify the WNBA with a specific team like most people do with the Sparks in Los Angeles.
Yep, agreed.
I mean, Chris, in your mind, if one of the other more relevant sporting leagues like baseball, basketball, football, hockey, or soccer, Chris, lost one of their, you know, big-time franchises, like say like baseball lost to Yankees, man, you know, how would you feel about that if that ever happened?
Just terrible. One of the league's most dominant team in the league with 27 rings. Great players play for the Yankees like Babe Ruth, Don Manley, Lou Barrick, and different players like that. Just would have been not the same.
Because, Chris, the way I look at it, man, is had the Sparks left, you know, a lot of historical WNBA firsts would have been out the door. You know, Chris, I mean, the first ever game, Sparks and the Liberty at the Forum in Inglewood. Kenny Toller scored the first points in WNBA history. Lisa Leslie was the first player to dunk in franchise history. And the Sparks, Chris, are still the only team in WNBA history, Chris, to win back-to-back titles. So there's a lot of history, Chris, tied in with this franchise. In the first game in '97, to Lisa Leslie's dunk, to the Sparks winning back-to-back championships, the rise of Candace Parker in 2008, their 13 out of their 13 or 14th playoff appearances, Chris, in 18 years. So, Chris, again, you take away that brand. You take away the history, the brand, the name, the players out of Los Angeles, Chris, and you can't identify, Chris, the WNBA with a specific franchise. I mean, you can probably market the Mercury or the Sky or something like that, Chris, but I mean, not marketing the Sparks, Chris. This would not feel right. Come today, May 1st, have the Sparks left their folded.
Yep, agreed. It wouldn't have been the same, and all the stats and the history would have been out the door.
Chris, I mean, the history would be irrelevant. I mean, Chris, in my view, whenever a franchise relocates, or if they relocate cities, Chris, all that history is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what they've done in the past. That, in my view, equals what they've done, Chris. I mean, even the Clippers, their 2 division titles, Chris, don't mean jack crap. They've gone from 2 different cities. They've had, they were like 45 or 50 years, Chris, the worst team in basketball. This little, 2 division championships, Chris, it don't cut it for me, man, because, they've been in Buffalo, and they've been in San Diego. The Rockets are the same way, Chris. They've been in San Diego, and their success in Houston, Chris, doesn't mean jack crap to me because they've played in a different city, Chris. So in my view, teams that have played in different cities, Chris, like the Stars and like the Sun, anything they accomplished, Chris, doesn't mean crap to me because they didn't do it in one city. They had to go to this place to do something, or that place to do Chris. Now, name changes, Chris, are different because you're still either in the same city, same area, like even God, L.A. to California to Anaheim, ridiculous and stupid and pathetic L.A. of Anaheim, Chris. But they've always been in Anaheim. So that, Chris, in my view, is fine. If you change your name, that's cool. Like the Bobcats going to the Hornets, I'm cool with that. But, Chris, if you're going to be moving cities, all your history, Chris, don't mean jack crap. I mean, the Lakers, Chris, they're fine because they've been around forever. They're excluded. But, if you something, Chris, this is all honesty, Chris. Have the Sparks left for the Bay Area, everything they've done, Chris, wouldn't mean anything. It'd be just a bunch of nonsense. A bunch of hot air and hot gas.
Yep, agreed.
Or Chris, as our guy Ben Quigley would say, a bunch of hot garbage. That's what it would be, Chris. If the Sparks would have left, everything that was done, first game, the dunks, the back-to-back towels, Chris, wouldn't mean anything to me. It'd be just a bunch of hot air, or in Ben's case, Chris, a bunch of hot garbage.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, again, May 1st is here. 15 days from the start of the season in Seattle, Chris, and of course, 17 away from the home opener at Staples Center, Chris. I am going to be there. You know that. You've known that for now, Chris. And I had to ask my dad at a damn hometown buffet to go to the game with me on my birthday, which I am still again. I see it one time. And, yep, there we go. I had a big Chris. But again, Chris, I'm going to go back here a bit in time. We know about the Sparks staying in Los Angeles, man. And then when the schedule first came out, we saw the home opener on my birthday, Chris. Chris, it went as far, Chris, as asking my dad, not at home, Chris, or at the baseball field, but Chris, at a damn hometown buffet restaurant to go to the game with me. And said yes. Can you believe that?
No, I can't believe it.
I don't know what it was, man, but out of all the places, man, it could have been at home, in the car going somewhere, but it was at a freaking hometown buffet. I asked him the question if he would go with me to a Sparks team on my birthday, and he said, let's do it. But again, folks, Sparks opener May 18th. Against Chris, the all-familiar foe, the longtime rivals, Chris, the Phoenix Mercury, May 18th, 6 p.m. at Staples Center, which in my view should be on ESPN2 with me on Sports and Chris. But again, Chris, Chris, we talked about this last time. We'll do it again here, man. What are your expectations, again, Chris, for the home opener, at least as far as the fans are concerned, the media coverage? What's your kind of your thought process right now and your thoughts about what will occur at the home opener this year?
It's probably going to be a sold-out crowd. I probably won't be surprised if some people that are not Sparks fans at the game to be at the game and to give the Sparks when they're doing the the lineups, introduction, giving them a stunning applause, standing ovation for being back, dealing with that long 35 days and still staying in Los Angeles.
Well, Chris, I hate to break the bad news here, but the Sparks fan base is always asked by Hugh Bush to be on their feet during pregame introductions. So that one's off the board. Chris, in my view, I'm also Chris that which famous people are going to be coming to this game, Chris. I'm more worried about celebrity encounters at the home opener, Chris, because we know Chris. More than likely, Chris, barring if the Dodgers do not have a home game on, or at least have a night home game at least on May 18th, if they have a day game at 1:10, that I will not be surprised if the entire ownership group comes out to the game, which I'm pretty sure will happen. I won't be surprised, Chris, if we do see Floyd Mayweather, Jack Black, the Red Hot Chili Peppers could come, Chris, and play at halftime for all that I know. But I'm more concerned, Chris, about, who is Magic Johnson, Chris, going to invite out to the game? I mean, because about Chris, we've seen Kevin Durant, we've seen a few NBA players come out to the games. Chris, I'm more concerned, though, Chris, as to, who's on the guest list as far as Hollywood celebrities go, Chris, come out to the game. I mean, who's kind of in your mind right now about who might be coming out to this game on the
8th? Probably Jack Black. Floyd Mayweather. And I don't know what else.
Chris, again, I don't expect any famous Lakers celebrities like Jack Nicholson or Anthony Kiedis or freaking Red Hot Chili Peppers or Will Ferrell to show up, Chris. But in my view, though, man, there is the possibility, Chris, of some big name A-list celebrity, Chris. Whether it's Matt Damon, who's in the movie Elise, it could be Chris, it could be a variety of people. It could be. Because I wouldn't be surprised though if Magic invites either Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out to the game, or one of his ex-teammates out to the game from the Showtime Lakers to come watch the game in person, perhaps, instead of from the owner's box.
Yep, agreed.
I mean, Chris, I'm more so, Chris, wondering aloud as to who is Magic going to be inviting out to Staples Center again, Chris. As far as that goes, man, expectations, Chris, for the fans, as far as we go, Chris, with either a promotional giveaway, and Chris, your thoughts on a possible giveaway idea and/or the size of the crowd you think that's going to be at this game?
Probably it's going to be a sold-out crowd on the home opener.
And by the way, Chris, I just looked at the Dodgers schedule, Chris, and the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
The Dodgers are in Arizona on May 18th. In my view, Chris, I think this happens, though. Magic might say, screw the Dodgers for one day. I'm going to go watch my girls play their home opener, the first game for me as their owner, Chris. So he might say, screw the Dodgers for one time. I'm going to stay, I'm going to go back to LA and watch the girls. I'm going to go watch my girls play at Staples Center, Chris. Do you think, Chris, Magic does do that, though, on May 18th?
Yep, agreed, because he's an owner of the Sparks. It's a home opener, and probably going to want to be there for the home opener and to support his girls for the first day in Los Angeles, the home opener, and owner of the LA Sparks.
Chris, what about when the Sparks take the show on the road? Will they get the normal visitors treatment, like the rain downs of boos and the nonsense that fans do to the opposing team, Chris? Or do you think, Chris, that maybe in a small tidbit they get a small little ovation because of what the fans know that they went through this past offseason?
Yeah, probably they get a little cheers during the season.
Chris, I think Seattle will set a tone here to see what the traveling circus is going to be when the Sparks go on the road, Chris, because in my view, Chris, it might be a mixture, but in my view, Chris, it might be a bit more on the soft side, at least for this year, or the first game that they play a specific team at the opposing team's arena, Chris. Because in my view, the only team, Chris, I could see not applauding the Sparks will be Minnesota, because their fans are a bit out of control when it comes to the Sparks and Lynx. But then again, it's a big rivalry, which I understand completely, Chris. But in my view, at least, Chris, there's going to be the boos. We know that much, Chris. But I wouldn't be surprised, man, if there is that small little tidbit of either some claps, a few cheers, maybe a slow ovation, any ovation, Chris. But in my view, again, knowing our the great fan base up there, Chris, they will probably, Chris, give them a small amount of respect before the game. They go back to being, regular fans and booing them, Chris, because again, Chris, this league is totally separate from the other leagues, Chris, because we're not, doing all the other nonsense we see in other pro sports, Chris. But I think the great fans of the WNBA, Chris, will at least give them a small little golf clap, a little whoop whoop whatever, Chris, and then they'll go back to being, boo, you suck, this and that, Chris. But, in my view, though, man, I think it happens. I think at least the first time they go to the opposing games, Chris, there'll be a small little ovation from the fans, I think, because they know what they went through, Chris. And again, Chris, this could be their own team that could have went through this as well, so they know what we're going through, man. So they're smart enough, Chris, to realize at the end of the day that this could have been their same team as well going through the offseason.
Yeah, agree.
So again, folks, the Sparks kicking off their season in roughly, I'd say, 15 days in Seattle and against 17 at home. Sparks Storm 7 p.m. May 16th. Sparks Mercury May 18th at home. More than likely will be on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. Chris, in the last 9 or so minutes here, Chris, let's go back and talk about what you told me today before the show, which was, again, I don't know what occurred with this man, but for some reason they got you. They got you and my favorite player on the team, officials. So, what happened again today, man?
Someone called me always Chrissy Poo, and they just said my nickname now is CP.
Chris, I wouldn't be surprised though, man, if like tomorrow when they call that man to say, that's not my favorite player on the Sparks. My favorite player is Lindsey Harding. Like, totally, man. You do that, man. And will you do that for the sake of the person over here in the hangout till they save some hair on my head so I'm not pulling it out every night?
Probably.
Chris, again here, we're talking about yourself here and my favorite player, which is not mixed very well. It's kind of like mixing gasoline and fire. So Chris, I mean, if it happens tomorrow at work, what are you going to tell him?
I'll be like, really? A CP?
And that's it? You're just going to leave it at that and not think about someone down here in San Diego?
I don't know.
Chris, I think you got to get rid of that name very quick before you know what occurs to you somewhere. Either on here or on Twitter. But again, that's what happened, folks. And if you don't know, again, Lindsey Harding is Chris' favorite player, and they're apparently got Candace Parker screwed up in the fray, it looks like. But anyway, Chris. But again, man, wow. Again, May 1st is here, man. 15 or so days away from the start of the season and 17 from home, man. Again, man, I mean, Chris, we sit here for 25 minutes here on the Petition Show, Chris, and just like sit here and just like, marvel, about what occurred over the offseason. And you, sir, you're still speechless. I mean, Chris, the petition's been closed for about 3 months already, and you can't think of a word to say about the effort at all, man.
Just unbelievable. Our Sparks, our petition, thought it would have had over 1,000 signatures on it, and it would have helped save the team in Los Angeles, and it did.
Again, folks, like we say a lot, but again, Chris, we didn't play a very big role. The big jackpot role like Magic Johnson and Mark Bolton. Chris, we probably played, maybe the little smaller constellation prize kind of role and keep the Sparks in LA, Chris, with our petition campaign. But again, folks, we sit here a lot, we marvel a lot, and we do that on the petition show at least until May 16th when we do start getting to talk about the league and stuff, man. I really do. But again, man, geez, again, Chris, I'm a bit concerned though about what will happen to me at least on May 18th if I bump into anybody I know and they're going to say thanks for the petition, man. Are you at all worried about? Are you at all, man, worried about your co-host over here in San Diego about May 18th at all being at Staples Center?
Yep, but I'm just worried about because I'm very confident about May 25th. But I'm just worried about what's going to happen to the both of us May 25th if they see us and they, I don't know, thank you for the petition, or I don't know, talk about an interview or something. I don't know. I'll put on some
Chris, I'm thinking Jumbotron recognition here. If the camera finds us somewhere in the Arena Bowl, they're going to put us up on the damn Jumbotron. They're probably Chris going to put a damn graphic up that says, Sparks fans, please welcome and thank these guys for the petition.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen. And then I won't be surprised. All over our Twitter, it's going to be thank you for the petition all over it mentioned.
That, Chris, and the entire team follows us back on Twitter, so how about that one as well?
Yep.
Chris, someone with the Sparks came home today from her overseas commitment, Chris, and that would be the resident San Diegan. That would be Candace Wiggins coming home to Lindbergh Field today, Chris, earlier on tonight. Chris, again, I said this earlier in 365, Chris, but I think she'll take maybe two days off perhaps to recuperate, get readjusted to the time zone. Then we'll leave into San Diego for Los Angeles to get up and running with the training camp, Chris. Chris, I believe we're just waiting on 2 or 3 players, I think, Chris, and that would be Candace Parker, Christy Tolliver, and Jantel Lavender, Chris, to make their trip back to Los Angeles, California, to get back in time for the season, Chris. So I believe, Chris, they should be back sometime tomorrow, Saturday, or over the week, I'd say, Chris. So we'll see what occurs out of that, I guess, right?
Yep. So wait, Sangrin Buddha's ready back?
And also Sanjay Gouda also is not back either, so those 4 players are making their way slowly back over to downtown LA, and again, getting closer here, folks, to the season. Just 15 days away from the start of the season with the Sparks still in sunny Los Angeles, California. So again, Chris, hopefully, man, I kind of hope the CP nickname kind of stops, man, because it just does not fit you in any fashion. That one just kind of grinded my gears tonight. Is your initials don't even contain those 2 letters. They contain a C, but there's no P in there anymore, unlike myself, where I'm Callum Patrick III. You, sir, are CJW, so they might as well start calling you CJ Wilson Jr., perhaps, man. How about that?
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, does that name not fit, man, or what?
What?
CJ Wilson Jr.
Yeah, it does. And also, C.J. Wilson's also, his name's also Christopher. That's also me too.
Yeah. So I mean, those are the names, Chris. I mean, that's what I think you got to tell tomorrow is you guys either call me Lindsey Harding or you call me C.J. Wilson Jr. But don't be connecting me to my best friend's favorite basketball player because he might rip my head off.
No, they'd probably be like, oh, who cares? They'd probably laugh at me or something like that.
Well, dog, if they think you're lying, man, trust me, your head will be on my desk pretty soon today.
And I'm pretty sure Shorty's probably laughing right now.
She probably is, well, but unfortunately, Chris, we have no one watching us, actually. I'm just checking the viewer bar here. It says no viewers. But she'll probably go back, Chris, and rewatch the show again, and she'll be laughing at this point in time here on the network as we're down to our last 90 seconds ago, Chris. But again, you got to get that name fixed, man, because that does not flow well with you and or myself. Because again, your head might be on my wall pretty soon here if this trend goes on, man. And I know. I mean, you gave me the look tonight, man. Like you're not gonna believe this, man. This is complete BS. If they're giving me this ass nickname, right?
Yeah. No, right when I said, I was like, I was like, really?
So that has got to change quick, man. Otherwise, you know what's coming your way, man. It's going to be a very rude awakening if you don't get it fixed and cleaned up.
No, I think I know the also because I was asking before. I wear my Parker 3 jersey too. I think that's what they all did too.
Nah, not necessarily, man. I don't think so.
I think it is because they always say Parker to me.
Well, thankfully, man, that jersey that you once owned is coming down here at least, so you'll be able to get rid of that moniker hopefully at least by May 19th. Hopefully, get rid of that moniker because just to kind of save your soul from possibly utter destruction down here. But Chris, again, thanks for hanging in there, man. I know that it's kind of long doing these shows, man, but hey, WNBA basketball, man, is our main talking point, man. So again, thanks for hanging in there, and sure to get that nickname changed tomorrow, man.
Sorry, thanks for having.
So, folks, with the air raid siren blowing off, folks, that is the end of Sparks 365 Network tonight, here, folks. And thanks for hanging around. And again, we will see you folks again back here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. sharp. Sparks 365, Sparks Corners, the guys with the petition, folks. And again, tomorrow don't worry. And again, folks, do not forget. But tomorrow, one preseason game tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. We will recap that game tomorrow night for you folks as well on Sparks 365, Stars in Shock tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. We'll have a complete breakdown of that contest for you folks on Sparks 365. For Chris Romancy, I'm Cal McClurg. Thank you guys for watching us. This is the LA Sparks 365 Network.